This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Hey everyone, today's guest is Tim Williams, lead vocalist and lyricist for the Long Island, New York hardcore band Vision of Disorder. Together we break down the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the fan-favorite single, Living to Die, taken from their 2001 album, From Bliss to Devastation. This track is 24 years old, and it sounds as current as anything out there today. The production, courtesy of Gene Freeman, known professionally as Machine, is huge. I told Tim that Vision of Disorder was a template for later Machine albums that he produced for the likes of Lamb of God, Every Time I Die, and 4 Years Strong. So ahead of its time. Tim really opened up about his headspace, particularly that he was emotionally dealing with his father's illness while he was writing the album, and that turmoil directly affected his lyrics. Tim's vocal performance is amazing, with Tim once again crediting Machine and his awesome vocal production. Tim also throws a little bit of shade at Pantera's Phil Anselmo, and who knew, but Tim and I used to like to hang out at the same New York City bar back in the day. Good stuff. So for all this and a whole lot more, don't touch that dial.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast.
All right, Tim, I just got to start off with this. It's been 24 years, so it's been a minute. I don't know the last time you actually sat down and listened to your own band's music, Living to Die, but this song sounds like a truck coming at me. It sounds amazing 24 years later. I mean, the production from Machine, real name Gene Freeman, his professional name is Machine, and he's done productions such bands as Lamb of God, Clutch, Every Time I Die, Cobra Starship, but 4 Years Strong. A lot of these bands happened after you guys.
Right.
This track sounds incredible. Are you still proud of it 24 years later?
Sure. It's a great track. And, Machine, I'm sure we're going to talk about it within the interview, but, me and him have a really good relationship. And that was actually the first record we did with him. So it was really, really exciting. And he really, really punched the songs through to the next level. And it was it's just an exciting time. And ironically, that song, if you look at Spotify and all that, that's like now the most popular VOD song, which, we wouldn't have thought 24 years ago.
No, not at all. And, I've always admired bands that, it's like you can sit and keep doing the same thing, but you guys kind of push your boundaries a little bit with this record, it seems like. And yeah. I do recall, because I had a friend, and I don't know who signed you to TVT. Was it John Coster?
Sean Roberts.
Okay. I don't know if you remember John or not, but I knew John real well. And so that time, I remember you guys, everyone got their little push at certain times. And I believe in '01, when this record came out, you guys were on the Warped Tour for a couple shows.
I think we came in and did a couple of shows. Yeah, on the Warped Tour. Over the years, we did sporadic Warped Tour appearances. We never really did the full tour or anything like that, but there were a number of times we jumped on the bills, mainly in the Northeast.
Right. And, going back to 2001. The record was called From Bliss to Devastation, again, released on TVT Records. Going back to that time period, I couldn't hear this track on commercial radio then, but I could hear it. I could hear it now. I really think it's ahead of its time. You guys straddled a lot of styles here, and we'll point out those hardcore styles, but I'm also hearing alt rock and what you would call metalcore and maybe tinges of new metal and different things in this track, but it's exciting. It's not like you were trying to cash in or capitalize on the sign of the times of what was going on. I think you guys put together something special here.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, there's a lot of different stuff going on with that track and also with that record. That was definitely a pivot point for VOD where we came around and we started getting, notoriety around 94. So we did like 3 hardcore metal-y records then. And by the time we got to Bliss, our influences was starting to change a little bit. And we started to kind of write different styles of music, and this record is what came out of it. It was an exciting time.
And I'm glad that you look back on it with fondness and say it's exciting, because that can be scary too for a hardcore band. I mean, I've known a lot of punk bands that, they at the core of the band, okay, it's this super, super fast beat and raging guitars, but you hear this pop melody behind it. It's like, okay, so you slowed down a little bit. It still kind of sounds like the same band, but with hardcore bands, when you try to morph and do stuff like this, sometimes the results are spotty.
Yeah, the results can be spotty, and we definitely caught some flack on putting this record out. But, VOD, like you said earlier, we were always into changing and wanting to challenge ourselves. We loved hardcore, and we still do. Hardcore brought us to where we are today, with whichever way you want to add it up. But it was just time for us. We all, as musicians, wanted to do something different. And when you do something like that, there's always a risk. But we felt pretty confident. And then again, once we got into the studio with Machine and really started to see these songs take shape, it was just, everybody was really pumped.
That's awesome. Do you recall doing a demo of this song?
Yeah, we did, because long story short, the Roadrunner deal kind of dried up for us. That's who put out our first 2 records. Mm-hmm. Then we did an in-between record out on Go-Kart, because we were kind of trying to find our footing back in the business and where we were going to go. I think we were changing management and stuff like that. So we did cut a demo with a different producer with similar songs out at Big Blue Meanie out in Jersey. And honestly, we shopped it around and it really didn't get any bites. So that was disappointing. So then our new manager said, I got this great guy. He's new. We could definitely afford him right now. He's got, quote unquote, he's got a good buzz. I think you guys should go do a couple of songs with him. Let's see what happens. And we went and I think we did 2 songs with Machine on this demo. And it was just, everybody in the band was flipping out when they heard it. Because what sold me on Machine was he's not only a really good producer, and especially back then, a cutting edge producer, he's a really good vocal producer. Like, if that guy does anything, he produces vocals. Mm-hmm. And I've recorded for a number of years, all different types of people. And he is still like my favorite vocal producer, because he's really good at it. And the songs just went from like wherever it was at Big Blue Meanie, which wasn't bad, but again, we didn't get any bites, to boom. And right away, we got signed. There were a couple of offers, and TBT was the one we went with.
I got to tell you, being a vocalist first and a guitarist second, I'm envious of his vocal treatments. I'd love to work with him just for that reason. Yeah. It's monstrous, and don't take this the wrong way. Imagine my shock when I dug into this song, and I've listened to it a ton the past couple of days, just getting prepared for the episode. And I always, my listeners know, I'll give it the car test, and I'm driving down the road. I crank this thing up. I hadn't heard it in forever. I couldn't believe how big it sounded. Again, 24, it's massive. Everything's there. The drums, the sonics of the bass, where that sits in the mix. And those vocals, we're going to get into that when we comb through the song. But the vocal treatment's incredible. I mean, coming from, I know ragtag hardcore singer, I know what the VOD stuff sounded like. It's great, okay, for that sound. But for this, what did like friends and family think when they heard this? Because it's incredible.
Yeah, people were really tripping out. A lot of our close friends, and of course, I do the car test also. And yeah, it was just a very, very exciting time. Like you would go. It's just always great when this has happened. When you get to like a point in your recording where you're kind of over the hump, the nervousness is gone. You kind of feel like you have it into the pocket. And every day we would come in to hear like the new mix, and everybody was just running out of there ecstatic. And no, friends and family were really, really supportive. Sean Roberts was really, really into it. There was a lot of hype, and a lot of people were excited about the tracks.
Well, and I'm telling you, and part of this is what you guys were doing with your sounds, the amalgamation, and how you were transforming, but also Machine. I mean, what he's done in the last 24 years since then. But I hear shades of this song in so much that's happening in music, whether it's screamo, emo, whatever you want to call it today in 2025. I really hear this track in particular as an influence.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, it does. I do feel like it's funny. Like we put this record out, you know, there was like these pockets. You had like the mid 90s that was definitely hardcore. You had Ozfest going around. Yeah. So there was a lot of hardcore metal going. And then it kind of dipped off for a couple of years. It got kind of quiet. And then we came out with this record in like 2001. And it seemed like the next day, Slipknot, Hatebreed, like all these Lamb of God, all these bands started putting out records left and right. System of a Down put that big single out. What is it, Chop Suey? And we were just like, holy shit! It seems like everything's going heavy. And here we are with this kind of clutchy, different sounding record. But you know, we were happy about it, but we were laughing to ourselves about that.
Yeah, well, for sure, this track was is definitely heavy for its time in 01, but something like this you wouldn't even think about getting this on the radio in the late 80s, early 90s. It just wouldn't have happened. You guys released after the third record a fourth record in 2012, and Vision of Disorder released their fifth album, Razed to the Ground, in November 2015, and that was the last music that the band released. And we're going to talk to you later about that, as well as your project, Roland Coffin. We'll get into that later in the episode. I do want to talk about that. But let's jump into the track. It's 4 minutes and 6 seconds. That's a long song for a hardcore band. The intro is 4 beeps of a heart monitor played over what sounds like the beginning of a crackly vinyl record.
Mike Kennedy was behind that. He's a guitar player, and I do believe he kind of started this song off and wrote a lot of the riffs, so he had something in his mind that kind of tied in the whole song with this heart monitor beat, because the ending lyrics have something to do with me personally. And when we were doing this record, you know, my father was actually not doing too well. He was in the hospital battling leukemia. Oh. So yeah, so it was rough, and nothing in the end he didn't make it, which is, it was rough. Like we were writing this record, I was going to see him in the hospital, and then we were recording this record, seeing him in the hospital. So a lot of that, like this whole Living to Die song, especially at all the songs on the record, had a lot to do with like that experience, especially some of the outro lyrics and the chorus lyrics.
Well, as I'm looking at my notes, and my condolences about your father, as I'm looking in the notes here, the record was released June 19th of 01, which makes sense because that was the year I remember you guys coming out on the Warped Tour. I'm like, whoa, Vision of Disorders here. But Living to Die is the first song on the record, which kind of makes sense with the heartbeat. It's kind of an introduction.
Yeah, well, it opened up the whole thing and kind of, boom, reintroduced us. Because again, we hadn't really put out a legitimate full length. Like the record before that was kind of old demos and I think 2 new songs. Mm-hmm. So this was like from 98 to 2001. This was like the re-intro of the band.
That's awesome. Well, right after those 4 beeps of that heartbeat, it goes immediately into 16 bars of a super catchy riff of stereo guitars, bass, and a big open hi-hat drum groove. Halfway through, the stereo guitars go to a strumming pattern, and again at the end of the intro. And then we get into verse 1.
You best beware of the street light.
best beware of the streetlight. You better lock up your door. I'm hated. I'm rated. I know that I've been wasted, misguided, cold-hearted. I know I'm the liar.
Well, a lot of my lyrics come from a dark place. I'm sure you've interviewed singers before, and I think a singer is a real singer is a typical type of person. So a lot of my lyrics and music comes from a form of therapy. So a lot of it does come out in a negative tone. So it's also with those lyrics, it's kind of like reintroducing that we are back. Like, you best beware of the street light. You better lock up your doors. I'm hated. I'm rated. I know I've been wasted. I've always, since, especially when you break it down to terms of VOD, since we put out our first demo, has caught flack for doing what's not supposed to be done within hardcore. You know, we were judged from day one, the first yellow demo, and we fought all the way. And we never stopped. We never changed. We always tried to put out honest, solid music. Then I was wasted. You know, I was a much different person back then in 2001. I moved to the city like 2 years before. I lived on top of a bar. Sure, you guys can do the math. I lived on Avenue B, and it was party all the time, and especially with this record, because everybody was hyped. It was a big record deal. There was a lot of people around. We're banging this crazy fucking sound. Like, these songs are coming out really great. The party hats were on. It was it was a wild time.
Oh, I mean, New York City is a celebratory experience to begin with.
Yeah.
And living there over a bar, I could imagine. Avenue B, wasn't that down where like Manitoba's was years ago?
I lived on top of Manitoba.
Oh my God. I guessed the bar.
Yeah, well, I was we lived on the 3rd floor first, and after that we were on the 5th floor, but I was above that bar. That was like my living.
Oh, Tim, your poor liver. My
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this verse one has become a little clear. It's making a little sense to me now. Man, these vocals, you talked about it earlier. We're going to get into that now. Double or triple or quadruple stacked here. There's tons of layers. And for you, never, stacking vocals like this had to be crazy, because he probably just told you, keep singing. And he's just keeping stuff and just filing it and writing down in his little book or whatever.
And again, Machine was really, up until now, we were still recording like on tape, like the old school way. Machine, like Big Blue Meanie, when we did that demo, he had some Pro Tools stuff. It was kind of like a hybrid. And maybe he was a little slower at it. Machine was like, hence, I don't know if he goes by that because he's just some lunatic at the computer. He was like a mad, like a mad scientist at that computer, man. He whips through the stuff. And he was just, like you said, tracking, do it again, Tim, do it again. And then he'd like, get out of here, come back, I don't know, go get something to eat, come back in like a half hour. And you'd come back and he'd have everything comped. Yeah. Like what basically your main track was going to be. Right. And then, of course, he was, in the past, I've doubled vocals and not always done gang vocals and stuff, but not under this scrutiny. This was all new. And he was really good at what he calls sound design. And, he really knows how to like punch a vocal. You should do a single here, double here, crack this scream there. Then we're going to hit him with a quad. Like, he is really good at that.
No, that sound design, what that means to me is sound manipulation. He knows how to get sounds and his just ambient noises and the things that he puts in his mixes. It's great. He's a real deal. He's been doing this long enough. He was on the forefront of this stuff, man.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And what a great, I'm smiling ear to ear because like you got me excited when you were talking about like you leave for a little bit. I remember the first time that happened and I came back and I had a producer. I'm like, I sound like that? I don't sound like that. He made me sound like God. Oh my gosh. It's like this huge thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't know because all of us had recorded the tape until we had someone that knew how to stack things in Pro Tools and comp and line everything up and make it nice and tight. Now it's just growling at you.
Yeah, he's really great at that. He makes, like, I've been in the studio with some slave drivers. At the end of the day, we did get incredible performances. But it was just to a point where it wasn't really fun anymore.
It sucks the life out of it.
Yeah, and you can't really do that with singers. You know, with a guitar player or even a drummer, they can sit there and do the riff again, do the riff again, do the riff again. I've had some producers just like keep going, and I'm just like, this. What do you? It sounds like you're barking at somebody down the street. Yeah, well, been doing the same fucking part for a half hour.
Yeah, my throat, it's shredded. It's like I've been gargling glass over here, guy. Give me a break. No, I know it's and sometimes I always say you have to have the right producer. It's like a coach. It's the coach on the sports team, the right guy to be able to talk to you and get you through it. And in that instance, if that was you in the vocal booth with me, I would say, hey man, let's just take a break. Let's just clear our heads, you know. But some guys want to keep pushing you, and there are instances when it makes the vocalist angry enough where he gets the performance that he needs to. But I don't necessarily suggest that. This vocal treatment, I want to go back to talking about it. You know, this song doesn't remind me anything of Stone Temple Pilots or Alice in Chains, but my gosh, the vocal of what's going on here and the echo and the panning and the pre-delays. Yeah, it reminds me of that type of vocal. And by the way, I love Stone Temple Pilots in particular. I love what they did with Scott's vocal. So this is awesome.
They did incredible stuff. I'm more into Alice in Chains and Lane Staley, but I don't need to. I understand what Stone Temple Pilots did, and I even like them as well. I really feel Scott Weiland was the last real front man. He was incredible, great vocalist. We have similar things too, but Lane Staley, huge influence on me, and a lot of that influence was tapped into on this record.
I can really hear it, but it's not a rip off. You know, there's some things that I hear bands where I'm like, okay, that's a direct lift, but I wasn't even so much talking about the style of Lane or the style of Scott. It was the treatment of the vocal and how big it is, and it sits right there with their productions. Drums, bass, and stereo guitars are all here in verse 1. Drums are playing a tom groove for the first 2 lines, and the stereo guitars and the bass are all locked in with this like staccato punch, and it's just, the verse is great. We go right into chorus 1 at the 40-second mark. No pre-chorus. We're straight in. And my first note here is, again, the vocals sound huge.
It was one of the best moments. There's a reason why this song is first, you know, and whether or not it achieved its success, we're all scratching our heads. Again, I'll say it again, that it's become the most popular VOD song. Pretty ironic, but this song went first on the record because it just cuts right in. Really introduces what the band is going for on this record. And that chorus, lyrically, very, very strong. And I guarantee, you know, it's been a while, like I said, 24 years. This was definitely a moment Machine was like jumping off the chairs, flipping fucking equipment. Like, that's the kind of shit he did in the studio. He had like this loft, and he'd like jump off the loft, crash down on a chair, and be like, "That's fucking amazing!" Like crazy.
Yeah, but that's a great energy, especially for hardcore. I mean, you guys lived in clubs where every night that was going on.
Yeah, no, it was just, I never saw that with a producer, though. I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is insane.
What's the sense? There's only sorrow. You sew up my eyes. What's the chance of no tomorrow when you're living to die?
You know, it says it all in that lyric. Like I was saying, I was going through a really, really rough time. You know, my dad, looking back, he was dying. We didn't know at that time. Me and my family didn't know. We knew he was really sick. But, you know, he was supposed to pull through, and then at one point he did come home, and then he had to go back to the hospital, and then he never came out. So throughout all this stuff, I'm writing these lyrics. When I go back and think about it, it's a very dark time. You know, in my life, like I said, there was a lot of partying going on, like a lot. And my dad's in the hospital. I'm recording, you know, I'm out, it's not that far. I'm in Jersey, recording, writing. And, you know, we start getting these phone calls. Tim, your dad's got to go to the hospital. Something wrong with his kidney. All right. Comes out, got something removed. Now he's got something wrong with his blood. He's got to go back in. Now he's got cancer. And you're just like, holy shit. And he was only 51. And he died when he was 52. So these lyrics were completely based on that experience. This chorus, show up my eyes. What's the chance on no tomorrow? We didn't know what was going on when your living died. I'll never forget this. Going to the hospital to visit him, there's this smell that I will never shake. It's just the smell of I could conjure it up right now. It's the smell of a hospital, going in day after day, whenever you can, to see your relative, and it's not going very. He looks like half the person he was. He's hooked up to monitors. He's going through fucking chemo, and you're living through this, and you're trying to write a record, trying to show 110% to your boys and your commitment you got there, and then in a couple of months I'm going to be going on the road. Then what? So, what's the sense in there's no tomorrow? What's the sense there's only sorrow? It was a very, very dark time.
Yeah, man, again, I'm so sorry about your dad, and that hits really hard. I'm going to be 52 in a couple months.
Yeah.
And I've thought about that. I'm every day as we get older, it's funny. I've become that guy where it's like, I pinch myself. I know that I'm on the back nine here.
Yeah, it's crazy because you think of a person, and especially when it comes to a close relative, you don't think of them as that old, or even then it's like, all right, he's not the healthiest. All right, we'll see what happens. But then you start getting to that age and you're like, he was this old then? It's it's fucked up.
Hey everybody, we got to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, but we'll be right back with lots more with Tim Williams.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Hey there, travelers. Kaylee Cuoco here. Sorry to interrupt your music, great artist BT Dubs, but wouldn't you rather be there to hear it live? With Priceline, you can get out of your dreams and into your dream concert. They've got millions of travel deals to get you to that festival, gig, rave, soundbath, or sonic experience you've been dreaming of. Download the Priceline app today, and you can save up to 60% off hotels and up to 50% off flights. So don't just dream about that trip. Book it with Priceline.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Have you ever spotted McDonald's hot, crispy fries right as they're being scooped into the carton? And time just stands still. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
Hey, I'm Chris Fafalius, producer of Chris DeMakes a Podcast, and also host of One Hit Thunder. Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we take a look into a one-hit wonder band or artist to determine if they deserved more success or if they were lucky to even have a hit at all. We've covered When in Rome, Jaquan, Shanice, Yellow, Squirrel Nut Zippers, Jesus Jones, Positive K, Mazzy Star, and hundreds more. With new episodes every Wednesday and special guests from the worlds of music and comedy, we always have nonstop fun, and maybe, if we're lucky, we discover some new favorite music. So if you love great songs and you often find yourself asking, whatever happened to that band? Check out One Hit Thunder wherever you get your podcasts. And now, back to the show.
Back into chorus one, the drums, bass, and stereo guitars, they're just pummeling you here, okay? The chorus riff is a variation of the intro. It's really interesting. It's not the same, but it's a variation. And then coming out of chorus one, it's interesting. There is what I would call my first feeling of, oh, this is kind of a hardcore breakdown.
Right.
And this is a 8-bar musical interlude, but I'm going to call this a reset because hardcore bands would do the resets. Like, okay, we're going to bring it down and come back in. This part introduces a new riff. The whole band is super loud and there's a crash cymbal that's just beating you over the head here. I also, in parentheses, put this could be the mosh part, of course, at a hardcore show. And then we get in to verse 2 right off of this 8-bar musical interlude.
Now I've been walking the fine line. I've been turning to stone. Ill-fated, berated. I know that I'm all jaded. Been tired, got wired. Now I'm uninspired.
Now I've been walking the fine line. I've been turning to stone. Ill-fated, berated. I know that I'm all jaded. Been tired, got wired. Now I'm uninspired.
You know, a lot of drug references there. I've been walking the fine line. We know what kind of lines those might be. I've been turning to stone. Just again, a lot of negativity. A lot of these things that are rattling around in my head come out in the lyrics and in the vocals, usually as a dark tone. Me venting stuff, me pre-shrink. Since then, I've gone to a lot of shrinks and I've gotten a lot of things under control. Ill-fated, B-rated. Again, I've been as a vocalist or even VOD as a band, we've caught a lot of slack. You're not hardcore enough. When we were out on the Ozfest in '97, before a lot of bands ever did that, we weren't metal enough. We weren't hardcore enough. We were in like this weird limbo. We went on tour with Sick of It All to Europe. That was our first European tour. I'm not saying the tour was all bad, but every night we were literally fighting for the audience because we were not hardcore enough. You go to Europe, you know this. You go to Europe back in the 90s, Europe is pretty accessible, but they're also very left or right, I've gone on tour supporting Slayer. That's a tough crowd. And then Sick of It All and Slayer were probably the hardest crowds I had to work in my career in Europe. I'm not talking about a festival. I'm talking about clubs when you're going on for them. And the Europeans were pretty hard on me. What is this? What are you? It's not hardcore. Like,
I can see it now. You're in the middle. You're in the middle of Italy. It's a Sunday night. It's the 10th show in a row. You're not. You don't want to listen to it, and some guy's giving you grief.
Yeah. So we got a lot of that stuff. So that went into these lyrics, and been tired, got wired. Now I'm uninspired. What happens when you do stuff like that? Nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And the game was hype and rough back then. And I was dabbling in all things crazy. Nothing good happens after midnight, and I was out after midnight a lot.
Well, you were in a good place for that, New York.
Sometimes I wouldn't go down there till like 11 o'clock.
I've always said New York, Vegas, and New Orleans. Those are three places I love to visit, but get me out of there.
Yeah.
Again, no time for pre-choruses. We're right into chorus 2. Same instrumentation here. Those big stereo guitars, the whole band pummeling you here. There's no harmonies in this song till the very end. We get a couple lines. There's what I call pseudo harmonies. The vocals are so stacked. Every once in a while, something will kind of float in. But chorus 2, again, that vocal is just, it's what's happening here between that vocal and lyrically that is just so good. And coming out of chorus 2, we get into the bridge. And this is probably my favorite part of the tune.
Yeah, it's an exciting part. I think there's going to be some fun stuff to talk about. And it is a very exciting part. It's, for the time, it was very different. I will say Machine had a heavy hand in it. This is where his sound design fucking techniques start coming in. I do believe, you go into the studio, you got like, whatever you got, 16 songs. I do believe Living to Die was pretty much like, we had it pretty solid, but there were definitely some loose ends. And this part was written in the studio.
Okay, I was going to say, something told me that this part, definitely all the production stuff, the sound design stuff that the Machine did was curated in the studio, but something felt like this part needed a second to percolate. This wasn't on an original demo. I felt that when I listened to this, because this part's too grandiose.
And it's got that whole circulating feeling with the whatever he does with the music's kind of building up. Like you can hear that on Lamb of God records later.
Yeah.
This is Machine back again, 2001. And he was just dipping into all this stuff, and he really helped write this part. And it's such a really great part too. It's a lot of it's cool.
Well, the bridge, a guitar or 2 or 3. There's a lot of layers here for 8 bars, along with just hi-hat. And it sounds like there's an octave pedal or a pitch shifter of some sort with a phaser, and it's just swirling around with this atmospheric delay. It's a really different sound.
Cool. Yeah, and that riff was written in the studio. And Machine, again, is one of those moments. You guys go home for the night. I'm going to play with this. He came in the next day. He's like, don't worry. Just go. I'll come in tomorrow. I'll be here at like 12. And you just came in. It was just like this whole freaking thing going on. And
is your guitar player sitting there going, how the heck am I going to recreate this live next weekend?
Probably not. He's a gear guy. He's got all sorts of wires and pedals everywhere. He loves it.
He's like, I'll figure it out. But I love that. And then we get into the lyrics of this is a really long bridge. It goes through a lot of different feels with the instrumentation, but I'm going to read every lyric here. And if you could let everybody know what's on the mind of Tim Williams, that'd be great.
God.
I've been up top. I've been knocked down. A bitter happiness before you hit the ground. It's just a matter of time before you lose your mind. Just a little kiss before I leave you blind. Your nervousness eats you up inside. Now you know how it feels to be alive. Revolution is your question. Couch burning motherfucker. And something just stood out to me. I've been up top. Is that the apartment up top of Manitoba's?
No.
Okay. What's happening here, Tim?
It's pretty lyrics applying to the self, and I can definitely tell you now this is something that me and Machine worked on, where he is very good at. This is where he almost becomes like a weird director. Like he's like, try and sing this way, don't push that, that'll come back, speak that. I'm going to make it sound like this. And it's really wild. Like punch in here, but not too hard. Like he's very good at that. I've come across a lot of producers that don't have it. He's got this intricate thing where he knows when something is going to punch and lyrically and vocally and hit better. And I've been up top. I've been knocked down. That's obviously in 1998 was probably VOD's fucking peak. We had the singer from Pantera on a record. The record really tore apart. Some really great, incredible tours. And it did what a second record's supposed to do for a band. It rose us up a level, And so now when we got off Road Runner, things got kind of dark. So that would be knocked down. A bitter happiness before you hit the ground. It's more a bit of happiness before you hit the ground. So you're up there flying on the rock and roll roller coaster, then bam, you're on the ground. It's just a matter of time before you lose your mind. How long does it take for you to lose your mind on the road? Doesn't take me very long.
Give me 5 minutes in the back of the van. I'll be screaming to get out.
Yeah. We've all been there. Just a little kiss before I leave you blind, kind of more like kind of a rock and roll type. He's in town one day, he's out the next. We've all played that part. Your nervousness eats you up. That's a very personal lyric that I could still apply to my life today. I've always had I have nerve issues, and I guess people would say I'm wound kind of tight.
Oh, what the singer for a hardcore band wound tight? Come on.
And drugs, alcohol, no sleep, whatever you want to call it, whatever rock stardom. The nerves just become unbearable, and they have. And later in my career with my second band, they got even worse, but this isn't about that. Now you know how it feels to be alive. Revolution is your question, couch burning motherfucker. That was a pitch to Phil Anselmo. Revolution is my name. But it just seemed to me in his career at that point, he was screaming revolution, but yet he didn't seem like he was really even getting off the couch much.
Wow.
And that's what that lyric is about. That is the honest truth. I don't think I ever even said that publicly. That's true.
That's awesome. That's a really cool lyrical inspiration of reference that you were able to pull from. That's awesome. Well, man, that's cool. A lot of stuff going on here. The first line, I've been up top, when that vocal comes in, the bass guitar comes in with those crazy guitars, and it's hitting the cymbal accents with the drums, which come in. The drums come in on the next line, a bitter happiness before you hit the ground. The drums are in there. On the line, your nervousness eats you up inside. Another super wide guitar comes in off left. It's crazy because this bridge is so heavy. You don't feel sonically like there's room for another big sound to come in, but that guitar comes in off left. You're like, where did this come from? And that goes down to, we'll talk about his self-professed sound design or whatever, but that's knowing how to EQ there to get that guitar that big to sit in the mix. It's ungodly loud there, but it's awesome.
No, he's really, really great at instrumentation, levels, and like I said, design. That's like Machine's thing. Like I've done records with him since. I recorded with him with the Roland Carlton stuff last June. He's still doing it. That's his thing. He's really, really good at it.
I absolutely love it. Well, on the line, now you know how it feels to be alive. You really hold out that alive there. And the band goes into yet another groove that's reminiscent of that reset after chorus 1.
I think this is the hard part, that tying it all together, or we were tying it all together with this. And then that's probably one of the only scream parts, too, in the whole track. And then it's got almost like a falsetto. Now you know how it feels to be alive. That live thing, that was a Machine thing. He was like, you got to do it like this. Try this.
Do you recall if he was using auto-tune on your vocals? Because
he definitely did. I'm not gonna deny it. He had this little program. Again, this is early Pro Tools. I had never really recorded with before, and he had all these little windows with all these little designs, and this had like almost looked like a radar dish with a little ball, and he just had my voice. Whoa, whoa.
Yep, that's the tuner. Here's what's amazing about that is that, you know, what I can tell, I know for certain, and this isn't a knock against the scene, but you know, a lot of younger hardcore singers, I say singers loosely, hardcore screamers, they can't sing. That's they're a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
No amount of auto-tune is going to fix a bad singer. Okay,
no,
I can tell you can sing though. So if he used auto-tune, it was used sparingly. It's not obvious.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't do it often, and I got to be honest, whenever he would break out that little program, I'd be like, I'm tired. I got to sit down.
Just fix it and make me sound good. Fix it and make me sound good. Well, the last 2 lines, revolution is your question, couch burning motherfucker. You screamed that like your life depended on it, that part. And you can really feel that. Right after that, we get a 2-bar toggle switch on the guitar that's just kind of going crazy.
Yep.
And that's that big guitar panned off left that is doing that. And then we get a huge, like a sub tom hit on the drums with bass and stereo guitars that provide a row that take us back in to chorus 3. Double chorus here. The first half is the same as chorus 1 and chorus 2. And on the back half, we get some call and response vocals that come in. I love this. If you're gonna do a double chorus, make something happen. What's the sense? There's only sorrow. We get only sorrow, a call and response backing vocal panned off left and right. Sew up my eyes. On eyes, we get what I'm hearing as a true harmony.
Yeah, we definitely did all that stuff.
That's really cool that you saved that for that late in the song. Again, I can hear a couple things too because he did so much layering. I think in a maybe a track or 2 in the chorus here somewhere you might have snuck in a harmony there by accident, but this sounds like it was intentional here, and it's great.
Yeah, well, he's big at not giving everything away like right away. He's got something in his mind. Double chorus. I'm not really a fan of double choruses. You know, it's just part of the formula, but it really worked here. And it was really exciting to sing like this. Like up into this, I did some singing stuff on all the other stuff on the records that we did. And but this is the first record where I really felt I was actually singing a lot more than I did previously, almost to a point where it's like a nail biter. Like, am I singing too much? And you'd be he's like, try this harmony, and you try it, kind of like what you said earlier, and you're just like, holy shit, I sung that. That sounds fucking mint. You know, and then double it, fly them all in, and you're just like, it's this really exciting time. Take everything away. If you just break it down to being a singer and being an artist, when you start to see stuff come out of you and out of the mix board, it's a very exciting time. You know, I worked my life at this stuff. Even up till then, I had, whatever you want to call it, 9, 10 years full time doing music. It was really exciting because it was different.
I love it. Well, the third line in the second half of chorus 3, what's the chance of no tomorrow? We get a no tomorrow call and response. Again, those vocals, backing vocals are panned left and right. And on the last line, when you're living to die, we get another harmony on die. Before we go in to 45 seconds, basically, of a coda, an outro, a coda, what would you call this?
I don't know.
I think this was to remind yourself and your fans that we're a hardcore band. That's what this is about. Because you guys could have taken your ball and bat and went home. You just did a double. You just did a double chorus. And I wrote in my notes here: was this part argued against and for amongst the band?
It was for because we wanted to make sure we didn't. It wasn't like written purposely. It felt right. We didn't want to. We couldn't just put out like radio tracks that we know that's never going to work. So we wanted certain parts, and certain songs that are on that record are heavy for that reason. You know, we still need to be heavy. We can't just fucking try and be a rock band. That ain't going to work. So,
right. And if you take away this last 45 seconds of this coda, this outro, I'm calling it, then you're down to a 3-minute rock song. So, right. I mean, that kind of goes with what you were just saying. If I do hear you channeling Lane Staley at all, it's on this one line where you say die, followed by 3 yas.
Yeah.
And the coda that is panned left and right. It sounds huge.
And that was an exciting part. You know, Machine was doing his thing and doing his pan stuff. And he has the mic set so warm, and, you know, the headphones are dialed. All, you know, you get effects in your headphones and forget it. It's just, you know?
Well, here's the rest of the lyrics on this outro. After you say die, yeah, you say the scent of death is the decay in time. Shortness of breath, bring on the flat line. The scent of death is the decay in time. The shortness of breath, bring on the flat line. And the band ends abruptly. But then there's this 8 seconds of like weird guitar noise, like you're messing with your guitar pedals. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's probably, you know, Kennedy doing something with his fucking guitar. You know?
Now, that was something that was just there that you just tacked on the end of the track. Machine's like, yeah, we're going to put this here.
It wasn't like it slipped in. It was, you know, I think at some point this was determined to be the first song. So certain measures were taken to make sure it maintained that slot.
And who's the if anybody, the last lyric referring to you? Is it your father
My
being
dad.
in the hospital? Okay, because it says
the whole hospital thing.
The shortness of breath, bring on the flat line. Whew, that's
going,
heavy.
you know, like that scent I was telling you, the hospitals, it smelled like, you know, people are dying. This was an intensive, this was a unit where people are going through fucking chemo. This isn't your in and out deal. And there was at least I picked up on a very particular smell, and he's hooked up to all these fucking machines.
Yeah, it's
that's what it was.
It's the scent. It's the scent of death. I've been on oncology floors before in hospitals, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe it's what you know how they say dogs can sense cancer. They can smell it. I think they can. Their sensitive noses can maybe smell that. We have to be in the hospital to feel that and smell it. And I can close my eyes and get that unfortunate scent in my nose. It's still there. It's weird, right?
I never, you know. Going to hospitals, it never has been pleasant, but it's never been the same since then. You know, I've gone to see other relatives, you know, whatever. But it was rough. It was a really, really rough time. And like, just to wrap up this part or whatever's going on, when we finally got this record mixed and, the fucking Trade Center came down.
You're right.
We're on fucking tour. I won't go too far off on this, but like we went out. I think we probably started touring with like Clutch, Slayer, a couple other bands. It's like through the early spring into the summer. We did Soul Brains. We probably did some Warped Tour stuff. And my dad was still in the hospital, but it wasn't going well. And then all of a sudden, just to cut right to the chase, the fucking Trade Center goes down. We're stuck in Europe, about to start Tattoo the Planet, supporting this record, which was supposed to, Pantera, Slayer. It really would have probably pushed us into the right direction. We were on the main stage. It would have been great. But the whole tour got fucking canceled, and we got stranded in Europe. And I'd say 4 days before it went down, which is September 11th, my dad died. So, like, I found out the news. We were in Japan doing Beast Feast. I got a phone call at the hotel. You got to come home as soon as you can. Your dad is not doing well. And I was, it was just a one-off or a short tour. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 dates. I flew home, and that was it. He passed away. And then the fucking Trade Center comes down. And it's like, that was it. That record was done.
Oh, my gosh.
That was the end of the record.
That's...
It was, you so happened to choose this song. There's a lot of weight behind this song.
Yeah. Well, and I think you answered my last question here before we wrap up. I think there's a lot of weight, and I think that it's an amazing song and people can feel it. And I think that's why in 2025 that this song has kind of rose to the top for VOD.
Yeah, it's really, I'm going to rehearsal later, and we're always laughing about it. We got a show coming up, and going through the set, and we're talking about playing some Bliss songs, and we're just laughing to each other, just like, this is the most popular song we have now.
I love that. Well, make sure you tell the fellows that I send my best. And before we break, I want to talk a little bit about your project called Rollin' Coffin. You have a new single out called Sun and Rain, and just let people know a little bit about it before we break.
It's an exciting, it's a band that I've wanted to start for a very long time. And it actually came out of the COVID years because I finally, VOD got kind of quiet. Blood Simples is basically done. So I finally, and the COVID hit, so everything was done. And so I had some time to finally get into my studio and record some tracks I've been trying to write for a really long time. And I actually got a couple of songs off the ground, and I sent it to a co-producer. They finally found it. I always wanted to do a different type of project. I finally, with his help of co-producing it, Colin Schiller, he really brought the songs to a point where I felt confident enough that I would release it out into the world. And since then, it's been exciting. It's more of a rock. A lot of people are comparing it to early grunge. That's fine with me. I love that stuff. And it's got a lot of that in it. It's very raw, organic. And like one of the best things that I like about it, I wrote a lot of those songs on acoustic guitar in this studio that we're doing this in. And I really don't write guitars for VOD or anything like that. So this is the stuff I wrote. Obviously, the co-producer makes it better. He plays drums, bass. So it's kind of like a two-man project, if you would. And it's been great. A lot of the core fans really like it. We released 2 singles, a video. Then we did an EP that did pretty well. And then we just released another single called Sun and Rain with a video for the song we have called Heaven Knows. And it's exciting. It's cool. People seem to really be liking it. We're still kind of finding our footing, whereas we might start playing out live, but we haven't really got to that point yet. But it's going great. It's liberating because a lot of it is very heartfelt, one-on-one, stripped down. And it's got a kind of a desert feel, and Queens of Stone Age meets early Nirvana, and it's a cool sound. I like it.
I love it. Well, everybody, check it out. The new single's called Sun and Rain from Rollin' Coffin. And Tim, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a great interview. Thanks for having me on. I've seen a lot of your other guests on your episodes. I am humbled and honored to be a part of such a lineup. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear it.
You've come to wash away everything.
The song you're hearing right now is Sun and Rain from Rollin' Coffin. Make sure you check out Rollin' Coffin wherever you listen to music. I love this episode. I think Tim is really, really cool, and I can't wait to talk to Chris about this one in the rap segment that's coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
You may get a little excited when you shop at Burlington.
What a low price! You see that? They have my favorite brand! It's like a whole new Burlington! I can buy two!
I'm saving so much!
Burlington saves you up to 60% off other retailers' prices every day. Will it be the low prices or the great brands? Burlington. Deals? Brands? Wow! I told you so. Styles and selections vary by store.
Savor every last drop of summer with Starbucks. From bold refreshers to rich cold brews, the sunniest season only gets better with a handcrafted iced beverage in your hand. Available for a limited time. Your summer favorites are ready at Starbucks.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want is a great feeling. Talk to a State Farm agent today to learn how you can choose to bundle and save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
Hey everyone, Chris DeMakes here, and I've got some exciting news. Chris DeMakes a Podcast is now on Patreon. Your support is what keeps this show going, allowing us to bring you deep dives into amazing songs from incredible artists every week. When you join our Patreon at ChrisDeMakes.com, you'll get instant access to hundreds of episodes of The After Party, our weekly bonus show where producer Chris Fafalius and I talk music history, trivia, tour stories, classic albums, and whatever else comes to mind. Plus, you'll get early ad-free episodes of Chris DeMakes a Podcast, unedited video versions of each episode, and, of course, a brand new episode of The After Party every single week. If our show brings you a little joy, help us keep it going strong for just a couple bucks a month at ChrisDeMakes.com. Not ready to commit? No problem. You can sign up for a free membership while you decide. Thanks so much, everyone, and I hope to see you all at the After Party.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Teeth Out, a skate punk band from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. You can find Teeth Out on Bandcamp and all the socials, and they're currently doing shows all around Canada. Here's a snippet of their song, Flicker Out.
We're not jumping in the box. Fell for this so many times. Sitting back, watching you lose your mind.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
So, Chris, I thought that episode was amazing. I thought Tim was so cool, and I didn't realize the subject matter of this song. And I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate to what Tim opened up about, the smell of hospitals, losing a loved one. And I just thought it was so cool that he was willing to be so open about that. I think that, that means a lot to people. And I'm sure that people listening to this can relate to it.
Oh yeah, it's that vulnerability that when you get that from an artist, you realize that they're just like us, that you're going through those same emotions. You could see visibly that he's still shaken by it. It's 24 years later, and that's his father, 52. That hit me when he said that, because I'm going to be 52 in a couple of days. I know you recently lost your ex-manager who was 58 years old, and you start hearing things like that and you're like, whoa. And Tim even said it. It's like when you look back then, you're like, oh, he wasn't that old. You always think your parents are old, and then you get up to their age, you realize they weren't that old.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing too, like whatever, this song's 24, 25 years old, but that it's not like you're ever going to get over losing a parent or something like that. So you could even tell during the episode that he was still affected by it. He could talk about it, but still affected by it, of course. But as far as more uplifting things from the episode, I would say, he talked about the car test excitement, the excitement of getting mixes back. And you knew you were going to talk about the production of Machine on this song, but it was cool to see how Tim also got just as excited as you got about the way this song sounds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was driving around today on my way home, and I was like, that's how I'm going to lead this episode off. And I did. I said, let's talk about the production. 24 years later, I'm just going to hit him with that straight up because I wanted to get his reaction. And his reaction was kind of what I thought it was going to be. How could you deny this? I love that he's a hardcore, I'm putting this in quotes, air quotes, singer. A lot of hardcore guys just scream. You can tell he sings. I even made mention of that. He wears his influences on his sleeve. He said he loves Lane Staley from Alice in Chains. That's not a really cool position as a hardcore singer to have. Maybe he wouldn't have admitted that in 2001, but I love it. He was an open book, man.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought it was really cool to hear, speaking of Machine, how excited he was as a producer during the recording. When you have the producer getting excited and not just sitting there bored collecting a check, that just affects the whole recording process. That makes everything that much more fun.
This guy's jumping off of long pillows on, off his loft, bouncing around because he's that excited. I mean, that is awesome. That really, that keeps up morale. And I'll tell you something else that is awesome for morale. It's like, yeah, go grab some dinner, guys. And they're like, what did we just do? We were in there tracking parts for 3 hours. I don't even know what we did necessarily. It's like we were jumping from the bridge to this to that, and then you go eat, and then you come back, and he's had an hour to put everything together and stack vocals and edit, and you're just blown away. I'm sure you remember your first time that happening with Punchline.
Of course. That's always so exciting, and you're hearing it also through the studio speakers. Now, this song stands the test of even listening to it through your phone. It still sounds huge. And you talked about that a lot, how this song still sounds gigantic 25 years later. I thought it was also cool. He talked about this being the first time, this new experience of like extreme vocal scrutiny during the process, which is always a wild thing the first time you experience it. You've talked about it working with Howard Benson for the first time and things like that, where it can get to the point where it can suck the life out of you, when you've been at that mic for hours and hours. But like you said, you need the person who can coach you up just right, not too much, just the right amount.
I've had producers be sneaky and you don't know what's happening. Yeah. They just kind of make it part of the fun. Like, you know what? I'm not going to use this, but just kind of double your voice on this one part in falsetto up an octave. You're like, why? Like, just try it for fun. And somehow he sneaks it in there later on. You're like, oh, okay.
Right.
There's a method to this guy's madness. I love that they're out on tour with Pantera and Slayer, and he comes home and writes a lyric about Phil Anselmo. That's great.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I loved when he was talking about playing in front of Sick of It All and Slayer crowds in Europe. And it's wild to think, I mean, I play in a punk band. So it's wild for me to think about playing in front of crowds like that. But it's funny to hear about someone in such a heavy band, they're still giving him shit about, this band that's this heavy. And so That should just be encouraging to anyone out there in a band. If a crowd ever gives you a hard time, just think about a band as heavy as VOD getting a hard time from the crowd at a Sick of It All show or a Slayer show in Europe.
Yeah, well, and where they come from too. These guys are New York hardcore kids, and they really pushed their sound with this. That had to take a little bit of guts to do. And before we move on, Chris, and wrap this thing up, I got to make mention. There's probably 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 bars in New York City, and I picked the one he lived above.
How did you know that? Was that like a popular bar to go to when you were in the city and in a punk band or something?
It was for a long time. Yeah, I had a night there with Skiba one time. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, Manitoba's was a great place. It was actually run by the singer. What was his name? Why can't I think of his name? From Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, who also played in another punk band. I'm blanking on his name right now, but it doesn't matter. Wild Dick Manitoba was his name. And that was his bar. But yeah, pretty cool. Want to break into one of the Apple reviews here in a moment, Chris. But before we break, ChrisDeMakes.com is where you can go for all of your after party needs, where you get bonus episodes with Chris and I each week, and you help us keep the lights here on at Chris DeMakes a Podcast.
The after party podcast is kind of like the after party at Manitoba's, I would assume. If the after party at Manitoba's was two middle-aged guys talking about music.
That's pretty much it. There's a little less booze and a little less hangover here, Chris. But yes, I would say the after party is just as much fun as Manitoba's.
Just as fun, maybe more fun. And you might learn something and you might have a laugh. Yes, ChrisDeMakes.com. It's the most direct way to support the show. It's our Patreon. You can get unedited videos of the actual podcast, the after party. Just go check it out. You can even sign up for a free membership just to see what it's all about. So go do that. And Chris, of course, we encourage everyone to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And I got one to read here for you today, Chris.
Let's hear it.
So this one is from the username is Slide Society, who gave us 5 stars and said highly recommended. And Slide Society wrote, "Look forward to the new episode every week. Very informative and quite interesting to find out how these songs came to be directly from the artists who created them. Great job, Chris and Chris. Side note, join the supporting cast. The after party is well worth the money." How about that, Chris?
See, we just got we got a beautiful review, and they also sent you back to ChrisDeMakes.com. I absolutely love that. They're called Slide what?
Slide Society.
Slide Society. Thank you very, very much. And this was, as we say usually, because they all are. They're great, Chris. This is another great episode. Want to thank this week's guest, Tim Williams, for sitting in the hot seat. And we'll catch you next week. Hey, friends. Have you been loving Chris DeMakes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the wrap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
Hey everybody, it's Chris DeMakes a Podcast producer, Chris Fafalius here. Hey, we want to create the best overall listening experience possible for you. So we'd appreciate your feedback about the show. We want to learn more about you, the listener, and your interests to provide the best experience possible for you and our sponsors who support the show. So we're asking if you'd please go to theshowsurvey.com/Chris to take a very short anonymous survey. It would help us out a lot, and as a reward, survey participants will be entered into a drawing to win a $100 Amazon gift certificate. Again, that's theshowsurvey.com/Chris for the quick survey to help the show. Each week, we'll select a winner for participating in this. So if you don't mind, just take a few minutes and do it. Thanks, everybody.